Well, we would like to thank you for being here. This is a little different, a little straying from course, but we're going to take these two together because they work together so closely and their operations basically intertwine one with the other. So I know you've been patiently sitting back there and have heard my questions, and so I'm sure you're prepared to share as we would request. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And if I could briefly explain to you why we're up here together. We asked and were granted permission back in March by the mayor and the finance chair and Mr. Riebling to present our budget together, simply because we work so closely together that when the court needs an additional funding of some sort, then the clerk's office would ask for a contingency on that funding as well. And to give you an example, last year when there was an additional magistrate asked for and received, we needed an additional clerk to fund that magistrate's docket. So this year, the court had a improvement request. So Judge Callaway and I actually wasn't going before the mayor's budget hearings unless she was granted her request, which she was. So I'm going to let her explain that, and then I'll tell you what I need in contingency of her request.
Thank you. And as Mr. Smith said, it's been a pleasure having this relationship with him and able to work together collaboratively in a collaborative method in order to get the things done that we need to do for juvenile court. And as you may know, we did ask for some budget increases, and we are very satisfied with the suggestions that the mayor did in her budget increase. What we are and I also have to say a big shout out to the juvenile court office. All of our staff are doing an amazing job with all of the new changes and all of the things that we are doing, and we are looking forward to keeping on changing the lives of our children and our families. And we definitely know that with the request that we have made, that we will be able to make a difference in their lives. Our goal is to make sure that each child that's in Nashville, Tennessee has an opportunity to have a very healthy, productive, safe life, and that's what our budget requests are asking to do. And so the things that we have asked for will definitely help to benefit our community by keeping our children safe. And so for the first thing that we asked for that would need a support also from the clerk's office was we are asking for 2 additional warrant officers in our parent support program. That's a program that we're giving additional help to non-custodial parents. And if they are becoming behind on supporting their children and doing the things that they need, we are doing a new petition in order to bring them in early instead of waiting until they owe millions. We're getting them early and often so that we can provide what it is and do whatever the barriers are to help them to get to a point where they can pay. And because of this new petition that we're doing and new filings, there is more need for the clerk position.
That is correct, and I'll pick up here just for a second. The need for an additional clerk would be for the parentage division, which is undoubtedly now the 3 largest dockets in the juvenile court system. So therefore, if the 2 warrant officers are approved, then they'll be summoning more people to court through petition service, which will create more clerical work, and with the need for a clerk to help the 3 parentage clerks now would definitely be needed, and that is where we would come in for our improvement.
The other improvements that we have asked for from the juvenile court side is for 2 new probation officers that would work primarily with our families that are going through the neglect and dependence, and that's more or less the cases that are not involving Department of Children's Services, but are private party cases. And these are the cases that there is definitely probably some adverse childhood experiences going on with these children because they're being removed from their families, and we need to provide additional support for these families. And so the role of the officers would be to not only help the parents to get back to the position where they can provide for their children and regain custody if need to, but also work with the relative or the custodial people who have custody now to make sure that they have services that they need in their homes in order to provide for that child. We're also asking for an additional clerical support for our youth court team. We are currently in youth courts in 4 different high schools: McGavick, Antioch, Whites Creek, and Cane Ridge, and we are hoping that we're going to expand, and we have been in conversations with Metro Schools to expand our youth court to additional schools, particularly Stratford, for the upcoming years. And we know that adding in youth court is a form of restorative justice that helps divert our children from the actual court system and gives them peer accountability. And in order to support the program, we just need some clerical support to help the team that's already doing that. And then lastly, we are asking for a person to be in charge of our recovery courts. We have 2 recovery courts, one for adults who have lost custody of their children due to drug and alcohol abuse, and then we have one for our youth who are in the system and committing delinquent acts because of their drug and alcohol abuses. And so we have it already in place now. We want to grow it and make it bigger and better. And in order to do that, we would need someone who is directing the program. Currently, the only person who really directs it is the magistrate, and it makes it difficult for him to do that as well as bring in more programs and other people. And so if we had a director of that program, it would be less for him to have to do. And so those are the improvements that we are asking for. We have absolutely no doubt that these improvements will help our community in many ways and help our children and our youth and their families. Thank you.
I would like to also let you know that our revenue stream this year is on track to exceed our projected goal, and take this opportunity to thank the staff of the Juvenile Court Clerk's Office and the Juvenile Court for their hard work and dedication over the last year. And I guess we will try and answer any questions you have at this time.
Councilmember Shulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Your Honor, Mr. Clerk. Just a quick question. The youth court, it's been a while since I've heard about that again. So can you give us a little bit more information about exactly how it works within those high schools?
Absolutely. So what we do is we train the students in 3 of the high schools, all of the high schools that we're currently working in, except for Antioch. They do it through their criminal justice academy. And what we do in August, right, when they start school, we have a big training that we bring all the high school students together. We train them on how to run court. And so they basically do the entire work. They serve as the attorneys for the state. They serve as the attorneys for the respondent. They serve as the jury. They serve as the court officers and the clerk. We have volunteer attorneys that work with each of those groups, and also that serves as the judge of the case. These cases are real cases that are misdemeanor cases that we are diverting from the actual court building and sending to youth court, and they hear the case. They work with the volunteer attorneys to make sure that they're asking the right questions, and it's more than a mock trial, because it's actually a real case. And so we're making sure that the attorneys are there to make sure it's coordinated. After the jury hears the case, they go back and they deliberate. They have a volunteer attorney that works with them as well to help deliberate and make sure they're coming up with a good restorative type of sanctions on what they've done. And then they have an actual caseworker as well that's a student caseworker that works with our probation team, and they follow the case. They make sure they're like a probation officer at school, but they follow the student and make sure that they're following all the things that they were supposed to do, and then they come back several weeks later for a review to make sure they've done everything they've done. And once they do that, then their case can be expunged, dismissed and expunged, and it diverts their case. If they are not following through, then it comes back to the regular court processes.
Do you have any any results? I mean, does it seem to be working pretty well?
It works extremely well. Statewide, we were working this through it was through the Tennessee Bar Association, but they've split off, and now it's the Tennessee Youth Court Association, nonprofit organization, and so we work with them and Denise Bentley. Statewide, the recidivism rate for youth that go through the youth court system is about 4%. 4%. It's an amazing number, and it does amazing things because they're actually the students have the time to really care about their peers, and they have the time to come up with solutions on what's really going on and things that they know at their school that they can do to be successful. And it really builds a bond between the respondent and the students that are in the court. One of the students that was at Whites Creek, he started off as a respondent on a case. He saw his attorneys and thought that he could do probably just as good or not better representing, and so he became an attorney. And so he's one of the attorneys and he does a bang-up job. And I know, like, anecdotally, for that one kid, it made a huge difference in his life. And he's engaged in school now. He does the things that he wants to do, and he wants to go to law school. So it's a really eye-opening experience, not just for the students that are in it and that are playing the lawyers, but also for the respondents. It gives them really a good sense of community within their school.
One last question. Do you have any idea how many cases have gone through this system here in Nashville?
We have a lot. We have at least in each school, they have at least 2 cases a week. So it's a constant thing. We're doing a lot of cases out there, and that's why we need the support, the clerical support to help to maintain that, make sure that we're getting it scheduled. What our team has to do is to make sure that the students are ready, make sure that they're getting the proper cases. We're working with Youth Services Division, and so when they get citations, they'll send it to our youth court team, and we'll make sure to vet it out, make sure it's a good case to go through youth court. So they're hearing a lot of cases. Some schools do more than others. Like McGavick, you can go out there once a week for sure, and they're having 2 cases. Antioch doesn't do them as often because they don't have it through their criminal justice classes academy, and so they're not as frequent. But there are some schools that we're in there every week doing youth court.
Very good. Thank you.
And we need attorney volunteers, so just throwing it out there for anybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Well, I'm just excited. I feel you're two enthusiasm, so I'm glad that both of you came and you presented together. It shows that you're into teamwork, which we know is very important. We talk about youth and justice issues and limited city dollars, so I appreciate the both of you just taking that initiative and coming together. That's really great. So I just feel the enthusiasm. It's all in the air. I did have a question, and don't choke me out. It's just a question under the juvenile court clerk. At a glance, it has a full-time position for the new clerk position. I think everything was very clear in your presentations, and it's obvious we need all these things. And then there's one for $20,400. And I wanted to see what that full-time position was. What's that for? No?
The 20,400. The only thing we're asking for is the 44,000, which
Okay, good.
which would be it's actually a $27,000 base salary plus benefits. So
Okay, and that's all I was going to say, because I was going to say, who can live off of $20,000? So I'm glad you. Yeah, so I was just like,
we
who?
have a part-time position, so I'll have to
Okay, yeah. Like I said, it wasn't even a question about. It was just, yeah. You can go ahead and
Okay,
use the
yeah.
microphone. I was just like, oh my God, we're paying
we have
somebody.
no part-time position, so I'm not sure where the $20,000 is coming from. I'll check with Sam and Julius on that, but I don't have any idea where the yeah, that's I'll check and get back with you.
Okay, and like I said, it's not even that. I was just like, we probably need to make it more.
No, it's not. It's not a position.
Okay, good deal. And just if you could get back on some information, but I thought the presentation was very clear. I look forward to supporting the both of your budgets.
Right.
It's just so exciting, just the work that you're doing. So thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And I will say, Councilman Gilmore, on behalf of David Smith, they do a lot of work on very limited salaries, so they would definitely love an increase. I'll just throw that out there.
We're talking with the finance director about that as well.
Mr. Smith, when you send that information, if you could forward it over to Rosie.
I will. I
That'd
sure
be
will.
great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And let's see, Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Smith, thank you for all the fantastic work you do for our county. A quick question of clarification on the youth court expansion item. It's currently in 4 high schools, and then the mayor's recommendation will allow it to go to an extra high school?
Well, we would like to go to as many high schools that we like. We really want, my goal would be to be in all 12 of the zone high schools. What we need, we just need clerical support to help with all of the scheduling and help to make sure that we have enough attorney volunteers. So we need attorney volunteers to help make sure that we have enough attorney volunteers. And so that's what that position is for.
Well, if I can follow up, if you were making a guesstimate of what the cost would be to take it to all 12 high schools, what order of request would that be?
We would probably need an additional, probably at least additional 2 full-time employees, probation officer level. Maybe 1 clerical staff and then 2 full-time probation. And I think our full-time probation officers are about at maybe, what's 112 minus 2? 112.
110? Or,
I'm trying to figure out my math. 112
sorry.
minus, divided by 2 is,
about 57.
that's what we would need.
Okay. Thank you. Didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I think we're all inspired by your program.
Thank you.
And want to know more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cooper. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Vice Chair Wiener. I just wanted to clarify on Councilwoman Gilmore's question regarding the $20,400. There's actually no need for you, Clerk Smith, to get back to us because that's your $44,800 FTE minus your fringe benefit savings. So that's where that number came from. So no need to respond, I don't think, Vice Chair Wiener, right?
Right.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Seeing no one else in the queue, we are complete with these 2